Okay, it is 2:03 in the UK, so I believe that's 3:03 in Germany. I feel like 3 minutes is a good time to start. Hopefully some more people will join. We'll just do introductions to begin with. So first of all, again, big thank you to everyone joining today and a big hello. My name is Stephanie and I am one of the music sales leads in the commercial and partnerships team here at Spotify. And I work across all of our native ads, working with all of our partners in Europe. So, one of our most common questions that we get asked from partners in the industry is how can I nurture really engaged fans on Spotify? And at Spotify, we've built campaign kit tools like playlist pitching, discovery mode, marquee, and showcase to develop an audience. And we're really, really excited today to illustrate how they all work together in today's masterclass. But before we do that, I'd like to give a warm welcome to the rest of my team, to my co-host Alex, who will also be presenting with me today. We also have Hugo Marquez, Associate Director, on the call too, who'll be there to support at the end. But let me just first of all hand over to Alex to give a little intro.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Alex. I'm a partner success manager at Spotify, working directly with Steph, and I work specifically on our music promotional tools like Marquee, Showcase, and Discovery Mode. I also want to welcome our guest speaker, Pyrian, who's an artist and label manager at Bamboo Artist. He's very well versed in our campaign kit tools, and we'll be chatting with him later today for a live Q&A.
Great, thanks, Alex. So let's dive into things. I will try and talk as slowly as possible, as I'm quite known for talking quite quickly. But please do put any questions you have in the Q&A box throughout. We'll be there to answer them at the end of this session, just in case anything isn't clear or we haven't answered anything. So please do add them in, and I'm hoping we'll have loads of time at the end to go through them. So, as I said, let's dive into things. Everyone's talking about the superfan economy, but the question is how to actually create those super engaged listeners. We know a ton about fandom because the world's biggest music fans are already on Spotify. Spotify listeners don't just stream, they stream more than anyone else. We've actually consolidated internal data and recent research from Media, Luminate, and eMarketer, and the results are just insane, which you can see on the screen here. So, for example, Spotify drives 2/3 of all paid streams, and those streams come from 1/3 of all global music subscribers. Listeners on Spotify stream 4 times more than any other platform. And lastly, Spotify listeners spend over 32 hours a month listening. So that's compared to just 3.5 hours on Amazon Music and under an hour on Apple Music. Now, the more listening that happens, the more opportunity there really is to build lasting fandom. We also know that we also know Spotify really well. And our goal is to help you understand them too. So that's why we've invested in providing robust audience analytics with everything from fan demographics to audience segments with details on how different fans are streaming, plus much, much more. So on the example that you can see here on the right is just one of the most foundational audience analytics features, source of streams. Hoping you've all seen this before or used it before and dived in. But source of streams really helps you understand your streams and where they're coming from, like active sources, like your profile or a listener's playlist, or program sources, which is like editorial playlists. And this view is just one of the many that we're sharing directly with artists and their teams in Spotify for Artists.
Thanks, Steph, chiming in here. So it's clear that understanding those fans is the first step in engaging and creating more of them. So this is another one of our favorite analytics features, audience segments. We show basically what percent of your total audience falls within each segment, like active, previously active, and programmed audiences. You can see in the visual that the percent of active audience in blue is actually increasing. So that would be a sign that you've engaged your audience and are effectively creating new, lasting fandom. And here's a collection of our tools designed to engage and create fans. So for a quick rapid fire from left to right, we have playlist pitching, which most of you probably know, helps you pitch unreleased tracks directly to Spotify's editors for playlist consideration. We have discovery mode, which helps you prioritize songs you care about most in algorithmic recommendations. Marquee and Showcase, which are sponsored recommendations that invite listeners to check out your music directly on Spotify's home. Marquee appears as a full screen sponsored recommendation for your new release, and Showcase appears more of a mobile home banner for new releases and catalog music. We also have a bunch more features that also exist, like clips, countdown pages, Canvas, and some new ones that are in the works that aren't currently listed here.
Alex. So we know that our tools are so effective at creating engaged fans because they were built with audience development in mind. More specifically, they're designed to enable the three audience goals that we've heard that teams care about most. So that's what we've heard from the likes of you. So first of all, there's audience growth, also known as bringing new listeners into your orbit. Then there's audience reactivation, which is bringing listeners who used to stream your music but haven't engaged in a while back into your music. And then there's audience engagement. So that's continuing to engage existing fans so they become even more dedicated fans. So super listeners is what we want here. So within Spotify for Artists, Audience Analytics, and across our whole suite of tools, we have dedicated audience segments that map to each goal. So for example, to grow your audience, you could focus on growing your programmed audience. These are listeners who haven't actively streamed your music in the past 2 years, but are listening via program sources like editorial playlists or personalized playlists or anything else. If you're running a marquee or showcase campaign, you could also grow your audience by targeting the new potential audience. Now, if you wanted to reactivate your audience, you could focus on the previously active audience. These are listeners who were part of your active audience in the past 2 years, but they haven't intentionally streamed your music in the last 28 days. Then finally, to engage existing fans, you could focus on your active audience. So this includes the light, moderate, and super listeners. These are your most valuable listeners. These are the ones who have actively streamed your music in the past 28 days from active sources like the artist profile, single, or album pages. And of course, your super listeners are your most dedicated listeners within your active audience. They're also the ones who are most likely to keep streaming your music in the next 3 months, more than any other segment in your total audience. Super listeners are your biggest fans on Spotify and a key measure of fandom. We also have dedicated metrics to access how much you've moved the needle on each of these goals. So, for example, if your goal was to grow your audience and you focused on that programmed and potential segments, you could actually measure the success by assessing growth in your new active listeners and new listeners. Or if your goal was to reactivate your audience and you focused on that previously active audience, then you could measure the success via the reactivated listeners. And then finally, if your goal was to engage with the active audience and you focused on targeting the light, moderate, and super listeners within the active audience, with the goal of creating, hopefully, super listeners, you could measure the success via the amplified listeners section. All of these metrics appear throughout Spotify for Artists in their ecosystem within SFRA. And this is where you'll find the reporting for the select tools that we're talking about mainly today, which is Marquee and Showcase. So how can you think about driving these goals throughout a release cycle within CampaignKit? So before I actually pass over to Alex and Piran today for our live panel session, which hopefully we're all very excited about, I'm just going to share a really high level example with you. So let's pretend you have an upcoming album and your goals are to engage your biggest fans throughout the release cycle, reactivate past listeners during release week, and then harness the momentum to grow your audience pre and post release. So for example, this is what we're suggesting could be a possibility for you to do. So pre-release, we would suggest setting up a showcase to drive growth and engagement to your catalogue releases, engage your biggest fans, and set them up for the release of the new music coming out. Then during release week, utilize Marquee with audience targeting, the reactivate listeners, which is your previously active audience, and then to engage listeners by targeting the active audience who are primed to become deeper fans. And then finally, post-release, to continue engaging fans, you can then use Showcase again to target listeners within that active audience who haven't actively streamed yet. Now, that's it for me for a second. As I said, please continue to type in any questions that you may have, and we will hopefully answer them in a short while. But for the time being, I'm going to hand over to Alex and Pyriam.
Thank you, Steph, for that beautiful walkthrough introduction. And as you can see, there are tons of ways you can pair the tools to achieve your goals with Campaign Kit. That was a super high level example, but I want to introduce you to Pyrian, who's an artist and label manager at Bamboo Artists, like I said, and we're going to chat through how his team utilized Marquee and Showcase to support the release of the German hip hop artist Zartmann's latest EP. Welcome, Pyrian.
Hey everybody, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you guys. I hope you're all doing well. And yeah, I'm excited today.
We appreciate you hopping on, and hopefully, everyone gets some benefit out of this and to hear some real life examples from you and your team. So, to kick things off, I guess the first question would be, what was your overall release goal for Zartmann's EP, specifically around growing your audience, reactivating your fans, and increasing fan engagement?
Yes, so the two overall goals for Zartmann were that we wanted to establish Zartmann's position as an emerging artist in the pop genre and also to expand his fan base really sustainably, because it's like really important for us to don't watch the artist brand, so that everything we doing is like very sustainable. So it's looking like it's not commercial. So that's why we try to, yeah, when we going to do Spotify Marquee and Showcase, that we want to get to know more friends for Zartmann. Yeah, they were the two main goals.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And specifically, how did Marquee and Showcase support that goal pre-release, during release, and post-release?
So we did like we did like a single timing for, so we were looking for yeah, okay, how we can build up a good strategy for the singers, so we can use the different options for Marquee and Showcase. So for example, for the pre-release phase, we release all the singles strategically before the full EP to build the anticipation, and afterwards we used to use Showcase to grab the attention from both, so from existing and potential fans. Then we focus on re-engaging listeners who had shown interest but weren't actively engaged with every release. So we try to target them as well. And in the end, our main goal was to keep the EP on, like how we say in marketing, top of mind, and build excitement around the whole EP release. Then in terms of, for example, for audience targeting, we will yeah, where we're focusing on targeting specific audience segments. For example, we focus on listeners who liked similar artists or genres. For example, as we're looking for listeners from Berg or from other artists in the German indie genre, and we also yeah, saw that as essential for the growing the audience ahead of the full EP release. So that's why we try to target many different target groups to activate them in the pre-release phase. Um, yeah, we also try to reactivating existing fans. So we focus on keeping the loyal fans engaged with multiple singles leading up to the EP. We also ensured a clear call to action and also encouraging fans to listen to the full EP upon the release. So we try to use you have the option to do different CTAs in the ads. So we try to test the different CTAs to see, okay, how is it working. And we also try, when it comes in terms of increasing fan engagement in the pre-release phase, we try to aim to deepen the engagement beyond streaming. So we encourage fans to save the songs, to share with their friends, and follow as well the artists. And our long-term goal in this was to convert casual listeners into dedicated, loyal fans. So that was like our strategy for the pre-release phase. I hope it's not like that too much when it going over to the release week. In our release week, in comparison to the pre-release phase, we didn't use the showcase that much. We were pushing more the marquee. So we used the marquee as the main driver for the promoting the Schönhauser EP, so the whole EP from Zartmann, during its release week. And we also were focusing on generating intent-based listeners, so users who click the marquee ad and stream the EP. Yeah, we tried to get the maximum visibility, so Marquee provided unparalleled visibility directly within the Spotify app, and also was very essential for reaching new listeners while ensuring existing fans were aware of the release. So it was pretty good. And in terms of call to action for the EP, the Marquee card was directly linked to the Schönhauser EP. So it was ensuring the listeners could dive right into the project and engage with the entire EP. So that was like our strategy for the release week. We tried to work more with the marquee ad. And in post-release phase, we switched on back to the showcase, because showcase, yeah, we're using it to to push the post-release EP release. We target listeners who had heard the EP once or only knew some singles. So we did like this one single strategy in the beginning. So we tried to get them back from the singles before the full EP was released. And our main goal was like to encourage listeners to revisit the EP or explore more of Zartmann's catalog on Spotify. Yes, in terms of, for example, reactivation and deep dive, we try to, so Showcase helped us to sustain engagement and keep the EP relevant after weeks after the initial drop. So it was very good for us. Also for converting the listeners into loyal fans by providing fresh content and opportunities for rediscovery. And also we were looking for a long tail effect. So we use Showcase to maintain the EP's visibility and discoverability, and also to ensure the EP continued to be streamed long after its release. So to maximum its longevity. Yeah.
That's great. I appreciate all that insight. It's really cool to hear. And what sort of results did you achieve? Like, for example, was there a growth in followers, listeners? Was there more engagement overall? What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, we saw like a significant increase in listeners. So, for example, for us, Marquee played a crucial role in boosting monthly listeners. So we saw like there's like an evolution on the curve from Zartmann's monthly listeners. We were seeing that the click-through rate was every time better and better. So that's because people are aware of Zartmann's because of the music and also of the ads we're using. So that's why the click-through rate was, every time we did the campaign flight, it was always better and better. So we saw that there was a better or stronger click-through rate in the end of the day, and also a really high listener intent rate. So that demonstrated us the quality of the audience engagement, that this KPI was really, really high. In terms of high engagement with the EP in general, it was like notable that there was an increase of saves of the EP, and for some individual tracks, for example, Tau mich auf was the first single of the campaign. It was also our hit single of the whole Zartmann campaign, and we saw that the saves are also increasing, even the song was like few months ago, was already released a few months ago, but the fans were still engaging with the track and with the whole project from Zartmann. And also, yeah, we saw a higher share rate of songs which reflects the stronger fan engagement in general. Yeah, there were some results from our campaign.
Awesome. Thank you. It's cool that you used a bunch of different metrics to really see the overall big picture success of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, we try to put the different metrics or the key metrics on Spotify, and like some further metrics which can tell us something about the audience. We try to put them in correlation to each other, so that we can see like different effects, how the click-through rate maybe has an effect on their intent rate, for example. So how we can make every KPI stronger and get every time better results. And also Spotify is also offering like benchmarks. So we try to also to look how is the market potential in the moment, and how is our result at the moment really good in our market, or is it not really good? So if we need to do something more, then we try to optimize everything. And yeah, we were also using Spotify benchmarks to optimize everything.
Great. I appreciate that. And I guess the final question here would be, do you have any specific insights or advice you'd offer to other artists and their teams that might be possibly listening on this call right now that you can kind of, give your thoughts into that?
Yes, of course, definitely plan and integrate early, guys. So Dawnbreak and Installation, Marquee and Showcase are a part of a bigger and larger strategy. So try to involve them both. So integrate both tools into the overall marketing plan early on. And also consider how they complement each other to maximize the impact. For example, I did the research about Showcase and Marquee. I did that with some fans from the indie genre. And I also saw that if I asked them, okay, into which ad you're always clicking more, then they said, okay, I like the Marquee ad more, it's more engaging. I like the Showcase ad more. So I try to see that there are always different reasons why somebody's clicking on this ad or on this ad. So don't see them separate. Try to implement them in a overall bigger marketing strategy, because they are like different type of fans who are engaging with different type of ads, for example. And also define clear goals. So what we did like set clear objectives before every campaign. So every campaign flow we did like different objectives for the different campaign time period, and also always checking them with the Spotify benchmarks. So you need to always to ask yourself, are you aiming to reach somebody? Are you aiming to reactivate somebody? Or are you aim to engage somebody? So you guys will guide you which tools you use and how you execute the campaign in the end of the day. What I also can say is that targeting is really a key, because yeah, you need to see, okay, which type of fans I want to reach. So you need to see, okay, if I want to reach the people who are listening to a track from an artist of a feature part, for example, then you need to try to get the potential audience to get them back on your own release, for example. So you need to try to understand your audience and try to experiment with various audience, but they need to stay relevant to the music, and focus on quality over quantity. So try to reach the right listeners, not just the most. And one of the last things I can also say is what we did every time is like A/B testing optimization. So test different strategies, whether messaging, visuals, or targeting. Try to regularly analyze them, the results, and refine the approach. And also Spotify for Artists offers valuable insights for ongoing optimization. So try to go into the tool, try to see which effects did the end at the end of the day, and how we can optimize it for the next campaigns. Yeah, these are my advices.
Awesome. Thank you. That was super valuable. A lot of powerful insight in there, and hopefully people on the call can take some of that into consideration when thinking about future campaigns that they create. So thank you for sharing all that. We appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, that was incredible, guys. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone on the call really enjoyed that. And I hope you've all been sharing your questions. I haven't been able to see them coming in, but let's dive into them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and then we can dive in.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. As Steph mentioned at the top of the hour, I'm Ugo. I work with Steph on the commercial promotion partnerships team. Excited to be here with you all today. Perianne, Alex, thanks for that interview. Super helpful to hear all the strategies and see how you put that into use. It's always interesting to talk about it in theory, but then see it put into use is like so helpful. And there's a lot of questions in the Q&A about your strategy, Perianne. So I think folks are going to be reaching out to you later about trying to pick your brain about how you do what you do. So expect a lot of emails, but yeah, like Steph mentioned, please drop in any additional questions into the Q&A tab. So I'll kick us off. Steph, maybe you can take this one. There were a few questions around benchmarks. We mentioned at the top of the call around Marquee and Showcase. Where can folks find benchmarks for Marquee and Showcase?
Well, it's probably best to get in touch with either myself or Alex, and we can share them with you. We update them on a, I want to say monthly, but even more regular basis. So I can definitely share them with you for, click-through rate, intent rate, conversion rate, streams per listener. We have all of that. I don't know if it's been across or if it's on any of the slides, but my email is very simple. It is stephanie@spotify.com if anyone does want to reach out to me. I'll be inundated now, I'm sure, but I'm happy to help.
Amazing. Alex, how about you for this one? Folks are asking if they can use the Showcase tool for album anniversaries.
Yes, so album anniversaries, that is a common thing that we've seen people use Showcase for. There are specific customizable headlines on Showcase that you can use specifically for that instance, which can really allow listeners to know that there's an album anniversary that you have out. And yes, it's available. We encourage you to use it. And yeah, we've seen some pretty strong results.
Sick. There's a few questions in here as well around the budget that Perion used for his campaign. That's going to differ artist by artist, release by release. So I just encourage everybody to jump into S4A, the campaigns tab, see what your potential spend is going to be. It's going to differ depending on what you're targeting, running, etc. So I encourage everybody to just jump into the campaigns tab and then reach out to Alex, Steph, myself around a strategy for running your campaign, because it really is going to differ so much by release. There's also a question around future plans for running a Showcase for pre-saving or countdown pages. Yeah, that is one of the things that we are in discussion and thinking about. I know it's been a hotly requested feature, so no timeline as of yet, but it's something that we are talking about. If there's other features or other use cases that you want to see from the tools, feel free to drop those in the chat as well. We'll take all those requests too, but we're excited to continue to update and roll out more features across both Marquee and Showcase. Great. There's another question around, is it best to book Marquee and Showcases after the track has hit release radar and captured the initial audience? Steph, I don't know if you have a sense of this one in terms of a strategy for when they should look to target their audiences with a Marquee and Showcase. Should it be after release radar, before? What have you seen?
Yeah, sure. I'll take that one. So with both Marquee and Showcase, we only target the fans who have not yet streamed the release. However, if a track has hit release radar and is obviously seeing great momentum, then it might be a good time to do it after. But it really does depend on the artist and the release and I guess your strategy in mind. But I just think what my initial answer would be, just to bear in mind that we will only target fans who have not yet streamed the release. So if it's been picked up in release radar or any other playlist, it might be seeing a great momentum. So then it might be great to then reach people who have not yet listened and add it in. But also, again, if you wanted to do it prior, it might obviously help towards that, getting it in other playlists, depending on how much it's picked up and clicked on.
Cool. There's also a question around what countries to target in terms of their strategy for a campaign. I think, like Perion mentioned, it's just going to depend on what your strategy is, right? He made really good use of the analytics in Spotify for Artists, checking, potential audiences in other markets. Perion, yeah, anything you want to add there in terms
Yes.
of how they can go about figuring out which markets to target?
Yes, I did this for Saatman as well, and for another artist which called WizDMC. So he was like our German artist, but there was the goal to work in really internationally. So we tried to focus on, okay, which marketing drivers we which have and which insights which we have, and then we try to put all the insights from the different territories together and see, okay, which markets are really strong for the artists, which art markets we need to try to attack with our ads. So that's why we try always after every week, okay, are there like a rising number of listeners in this country? So if it's working, then we need to try to put more ads on this country. So that's why we try always to analyze, to optimize, and then redo it as every time. So that's the strategy.
Amazing. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Yeah, you guys use that the analytics features in Spotify for Artists is so powerful. There's so much detail in there. I know folks who live and breathe it, they're in there every single day. So really, when we talk about it, it's because we really think it's a powerful tool. Like Perian mentioned, it really helped elevate his campaign as well. So make sure you check that out. There's a few questions around the ability to buy and book campaigns out of Asia. It's the Asian markets are not currently online yet. They're in our sites. We don't yet have a set timeline for buying out of Asia. But we'll of course communicate that as soon as we have it. We are continuing to roll out new markets. We just launched Chile a few weeks ago. There'll be a few more coming online throughout the rest of the year. So as soon as we have set timelines for more markets coming on in Asia, we'll be sure to communicate those. But we're excited to see that you all want access to these tools. So we'll be pumped to launch there once we get to that point. Great. Let's see. There's a few more questions rolling in. This is so great. There's so much excitement here. Anybody remember key action? Will the tool give recommendations to countries you should run a showcase campaign? Alex, do you want to take this one? Whether the tool gives you recommendations for how to select which countries to run a showcase in?
Yeah, so we don't specifically give recommendations on which country to target, but we do have the option to select a market that you're interested in, and you can kind of go through the flow of the campaign booking process, and you could type in a budget that you'd like, and then our tool will give you a recommendation on the delivery, the likely spend of that campaign, the estimated clicks, and you'll be able to see if it's likely to deliver, somewhat likely to deliver, or not likely to deliver. So you'll have that option to see whether it's possible to deliver in those markets. But usually, I think best practice is kind of to obviously like think about what goals what you have, what countries are priorities for that artist, and looking at other metrics that Spotify for Artists has to offer on the audience tab, where you can see a breakdown on the countries to see where your most active fans live. So I think that'd be a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Steph, anyone for you? This is a question around launching marquee campaigns. So this person launches marquee campaigns for their artists throughout the week rather than Friday because they assume that the platform is pretty saturated releases that day. Do you have any stats on which days most marquee or showcases campaigns are launched, or anything that you've seen from other folks in terms of their strategy for launching marquee and showcase campaigns?
Oh, we get asked this question quite frequently about what day is best. And we actually haven't seen that starting a campaign particular day is actually better. The campaigns are set to deliver as quickly as possible. So again, it really depends on your budget and your budget in comparison to what is actually available against that particular artist. As a bit of a recommendation, there's a lot of labels who use the tools quite often. They tend to start the campaigns maybe 3 days after release to kind of let that the organic streams happen first, and then give it that extra push maybe after the weekend. We see that happen quite frequently. That's just what I've seen. It's not necessarily like you don't have to do that by any means, but there isn't actually a particular day, as I said. But happy to talk through any goals that you may have for a particular release, or any strategy, sorry, you may have, and let me know what the goals are, and I can talk that through with you at the time of booking.
Yeah, amazing. Alex, maybe you can take this one around showcase campaigns to promote back catalog releases. Is that something that you've seen folks use in the past? Do we recommend that? If so, which audiences might make the most sense for promoting back catalog via showcase?
Yeah, showcase specialty is that you can promote back catalog releases as well as new releases. And yeah, we see a lot of times people promoting back catalog releases in an effort prior to a new release to kind of build momentum and build that excitement before a new release, like Perian mentioned in his little case study example. So targeting obviously depends on what goals you're trying to achieve. If you're looking to hit the max amount of people, you could always go with default audience to get the most amount of clicks for the CPC. but you can also get a little bit more niche depending on obviously what your goals are. So a little vague, but it's fun to experiment and play around with Showcase because there are a lot of different parameters, including the different headlines you can select. So yeah, I think that would be a good one.
Awesome. Perry, maybe one for you. There's still a lot of questions just coming in around like budget sizes. Like, you don't have to tell us the numbers, but like, how do you go about just sort of deciding? Like, how do you sort of plan that strategy? Really get to say like, this is how much I'm going to spend on this artist versus that artist, on this market versus that market. How do you form that strategy?
It's a really good question because it depends on, like you said, and like I said in my case studies, depends on the overall goal. Because for Zaman was the overall goal to achieve the #1 in the album chart, so that's why we use this maximum spend niveau, so that everything is spending into the Spotify ads. So we try to use the maximum budget, and it depends on when you're using Showcase and Marquee for several weeks, how are you going to do that? We try to do this in terms of analyzing. So we did every time analyzing of the CSV of the whole stats, and then we try to do like budget allocation. So we try to shift the budget from, okay, we did more this time in Marquee, how it will look like with the CPC, how it will look like with to put more money on the Showcase with the same CPC if it comes to the situation. And then we try to do like fictional situations, how it will look like if we if we put the budget more to the other ads. So that's why we're always trying to see, okay, how it will look like. Then we see, okay, are the real results the same like our fictive results? So that's why we be like, okay, it's true, so we can go on. And I think everybody's like putting their own different strategy into it, how we allocate our budget, because it depends like what is the main overall goal, and how long is the campaign going on, and how big is the budget in the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So like you've been saying, sort of you start with what your goal is, you sort of see what you can achieve using analytics, the campaign tab, and then sort of letting that inform your strategy going forward. And is that how you also decide? There's a few questions in here. Is that how you also decide whether to run a Marquee and a Showcase? Is that a similar sort of strategy that you take?
Right. Yeah, we put like every time we always putting like Marquee in on the one side, and then really on the other side Showcase, so we can compare each KPI, and then with the benchmarks before, and then okay, how is it looking, how much is the CPC, and then we always also calculating the cost per KPI. So for example, we're also calculating cost per intent, cost per engagement, for example, or cost per click, for example. Okay, no, sorry, cost per engagement, for example, or cost per intent. So we try to, okay, was it very efficient in case? So if the stats are looking really good, if the normal numbers are really good, looking good, how are the costs are looking in the background, you
Yeah.
know? So that's where we always be like, okay, how is the cost per intent, for example? And then we compare everything. We see, aha, it reached the benchmark for example, or it was really good. It was a really high KPI, but in general, it was really, really expensive in comparison to the other ads. So that's why we'd be like, okay, how was the performance in general? How was the cost efficiency per KPI? And then we did like our own calculations with this.
Amazing. And not to give away your secret sauce, Fury, but some people want to know, how are you analyzing all the data? Are you using the CSV, Excel, a different tool? Your brain, obviously, you're really smart. You've driven so much into Marquee and Showcase. What's your strategy for analyzing all the data, the reporting after the campaign has
Yes.
concluded?
What I'm doing is every time I'm downloading the CSV from the Spotify from Artists campaign, and you can also ask Alex and Steph for like a little bit bigger reporting if you need some more stats. But I always putting them into Excel and doing my own analysis. Like I said, like I put the comparison between Showcase and Marquee. If I use the same budget for each ad, then it's better to compare both, and then I do like, okay, how were the key KPIs performing? How were they aligned with the benchmarks? And then after that, I'm doing this cost analysis per KPI. And then I'd be like, okay, for my feeling, it's like, okay, we need to put more money on the Marquee for this time, because in this and this and this KPI was really like very cheap to get these stats right now. So that's why we'd be like, okay, let's try it. And then we always trying an optimization. That's like our secret sauce. So that's not like a, okay, that's like a really like a routine, which I guarantee you the results will be like that, like you expected. It's always like trying, optimize, and then go further.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Perion, really giving everybody the inside detail there. I'm just gonna come for your strategy. Thank you for that.
I can't tell you more. I can't tell you more.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't give away all your secrets just yet. Awesome. There's another question here about when the Marquee and Showcase will be available in Brazil. We think in the next few weeks. We'll communicate the timeline once that's confirmed, but in the next few weeks, we should have Brazil and hopefully some additional markets coming online. So super excited for that addition as well. Steph, maybe you can take this next one. There's a few questions around the ability to promote playlists, whether this is playlists or playlists in general. Do we have that functionality? Can you speak to that a bit more?
I can indeed. So both Marquee and Showcase tools are available to promote singles, EPs, and albums. However, currently with Marquee, if you are promoting a single, then we are able to drive users through to the This Is playlist for that particular artist. And automatically, if you do that, the release that you are promoting will be pinned at the top of the This Is playlist for the campaign period and the 14 days after, which is the attribution window. So that's available for Marquee and to go through to This Is playlist targeting. At the moment, that is the only tool utilizing This Is targeting. I'm not too sure if further down the line it will come available to Showcase, but if it does, then we will let you know as soon as possible. But yeah, at the moment, singles, EPs, and albums.
Amazing. But yeah, this is a great point. If you have any other features or things you'd like to see from the tools, you now know how to reach Steph and Alex as well. So feel free to share ideas. We're all ears. We want to make sure that these tools work for you and that they serve your purposes. So yeah, that's a great use case. There's a question here. So are any plans to promote video releases through similar Marquee and Showcase tools? It's not on the roadmap as of yet. It's part of the discussion. We are just dipping our toes into music videos. As you all have seen, we're super excited about it. We've launched official music videos in 98 markets, so it's exciting to see where it has grown and continue to grow. So we don't have any plans just yet to promote videos through Marquee and Showcase tools, but if you see a use case for it or if you have a need for it, let us know. We're all ears. Marquee available in Argentina, along with Brazil. That's one of the ones that we hope will come online over the next few weeks. We don't have a set date just yet, but Argentina and Brazil are next on our list, as well as some other ones. So stay tuned for more details on that front.
Ugo, just to jump in there, that's from a buying perspective, but you can target those markets. So if you are buying from Germany, then yes, you can target those markets. It's just not available to purchase.
Yes, thanks, Steph. That is a great distinction. Steph, not to put you on blast, but folks want to know about your email again. They missed that comment.
Oh no, I've already seen all the emails coming in. I don't know if I want to share it again. No, it is Stephanie@spotify.com. I was the one and only Stephanie from the start.
Yeah. Very early on employee. Cool. I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions. There's a question here about This Is playlist for Marquee or Showcase. We did answer that. We will share the recording afterwards. So check it out. But it is available. Steph talked in detail about how that works. So we'll share the recording. You can go back and check the answer there. Great. Let me just stick a few more here. Are there any capabilities to set campaign spend pacing? Would love to know if there are any options besides as fast as possible. Alex, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, no, there aren't any other options to do this. We have it, as Stephanie mentioned before, set to as fast as possible, but we'd be curious to hear more insight onto why that might be helpful for you and your teams, because we're always looking to expand our, our capabilities here. And if it's a valuable thing for you and your campaigns, it'd be very interesting for us to bring to our teams to potentially consider it for future iterations of the product.
Amazing. And in terms of minimum budget, Alex, for the tools.
Yeah, so both Marquee and Showcase minimum budget. If you're booking via self-serve by yourself, the minimum budget is $100. And if you're booking via drafts and approvals, which is a sort of different type of method that you can reach out to Steph and I about, that is a $250 minimum. So slightly different.
Awesome. Hey, cool. Okay. I think we've gone through quite a bit of these. It's really exciting to see everybody jump in and participate. It really sort of helps see the questions that we should be thinking about internally and also the things that are helping you. So I appreciate everybody's being such an active participant. Here's another one. Can we book more than one marquee campaign per release? Steph, do you want to hit that one?
I will take that one. Yes, of course you can, and please do. You have 21 days to promote your release with a marquee. So 21 days from release date. So if you were to run a campaign in the first couple of days and then you decided you wanted to promote that release again, you have, following 18 or so more days to do so. But if not, then Showcase is available for you straight away after that 21-day window is closed.
Amazing. Cool. I think we will call it there. Like I said, we will share the recording afterwards. Everybody now knows how to reach Steph and Alex as well. But thanks everybody for joining. Perian, thank you for your expertise. I think that you're about to get a lot more emails to your inbox. Everybody asking how you do, what you do. This was really, really helpful and really helped to like contextualize and add color to the strategies. We talk about this stuff all day, but it's great to see how you put them into practice, how you use them, and the success that you're seeing with the tools. So thank you for being such a willing participant and for helping out. And thanks everybody for joining. It's great to see enthusiasm and the emojis flying. This has been an amazing hour. So thanks everybody. Really, really appreciate the time. We'll see y'all later.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.